still wrong. Metro is still wrong. Here's why. Yo, let's watch. I'm down. Hey, props before we start. At least you said my name this time. Instead of being like, people on the internet.
So, he said that he thinks green investment is overall better than it was. Which is true on some heroes. In fact, I already said that in my previous video. I said that now going Vitality was an option, but not the meta. And so I want to clarify, a lot of my arguments revolve around the fact that in your video, you encouraged people saying that it was broken to rush 4.8k greens for reasons that we'll get into in just a second. And that's really where I disagree with it. I do disagree a little bit with you on the vests. I think the Battle Vest and Enchanter Emblems are good items.
We'll let him talk.
But I don't think rushing the 4.8k Vitality investment is meta, and that's really what I'm going to center my argument around while addressing your concerns. So I'm not even going to bother talking about the extra health, because we agree on the extra health. It's a good item. Very often, getting an item like Monster Rounds or Headshot Booster, you might even want to go Rebuttal first, because it gives you that kind of potential to, wildly swing the lane in your favor. But the first waves dictate a lot of how the lane is going to go, and you want to get wave pressure during those first waves. You want to get wave pressure so that you have then agency to gank, to, just do whatever you want, do boxes, gank, etc. Pushing the lane gives you agency, and extra health generally doesn't help you do that.
Okay, I'll pause here. I'll just address point by point, because it brought up some good points. I 100% agree that on a lot of characters, getting monster rounds first, or close quarters, or whatever the fuck the other item was, headshot booster is really strong. Never said it's not. My point is that I think extra health is insane in lane. You don't have to rush it first. In my Warden build, I now have it second. On my Wraith, I still have it right after monster rounds or right before monster rounds. But I would argue that it gives you urgency, just like the other items, because you can actually go in on the second wave. You can still nuke the wave down, depending on the character you're on, and then you can actually trade really favorably. In fact, if you have it on level 1 and the enemy doesn't, you're like, again, like 30-35% more healthy, depending on the character you play. So you will win the trade no matter what, because you just have more HP.
One of your big issues with my statements was that I said you deal no damage, right? So I was like, hey, if you go Battle Vest, Enchanter's Emblem, like extra health, healing red, or whatever, I said, you're not really going to do much damage. Right? And I still stand by that statement, to be fair. Now, his first point about this is that if I'm 1v1ing, let's say this Abrams, and I bought full greens, and he buys full purples, or he spends his 4.8k, however, right? If I have like these greens, which are all very, very efficient, then I'll win the 1v1 every single time. And he says on every hero, he says he's willing to even 1v1 me, okay? Now, I don't want to talk about, the timing of the clip and the fact they didn't start at the same time like that.
Okay, wait. There were like 8 clips. I don't know if they're all in the... Okay,
it's flawed. Like,
let him finish.
Playing lane like this, where you're just standing and shooting at each other for the whole time, right? The very nature of lane is extremely bursty, right? It's like you go in small interactions, people will run away, people will like, they'll do their combo, they'll go in, and then they'll run away. And that's just the nature of the lane. Like, people...
That's actually a very fair point. That is actually a very fair point, and I will concede to that. Because, like, it is hard to test it in a real environment, right? Because ideally, you assume that the lane goes even, and obviously in laning, there's a lot of other things involved, right? Like, it's really hard to test. So it is true that if you have, like, an assassin type of character that puts out all that damage instantly, that becomes very much important, right? Now, that being said, I would argue on the characters I showed it on, those are all characters that do that damage over time, right? And they kind of like carry characters, right? I even mentioned, I think, in the video that stuff like Mina and burst characters, I even mentioned Abrams, you never want to rush. For the record, okay? I mentioned Abrams does not want to rush green. I even said most tank characters don't want to rush it, right? If that wasn't clear, on tank characters, you have inherent tankiness, and they also play differently, especially like something like Abrams where you charge in. And I mentioned there's other exceptions too. Dynamo, like Great Talon, right? So that's a very fair point, and I think it's very hard to test it in that kind of sense. But you have to understand, even if we're talking about bursty lanes, right? Like if I'm on a character that does damage over time, like Warden, I will shoot for longer than a second, right? Like I will throw my flasks. That's considered burst, but I will shoot for longer, and I will force fights that last longer in terms of engaging, right? Plus, if you have those, you will also tank that burst from the enemy better, right? And you will regen more. right? That's both factors that also play into that. So I agree that the way of testing is not super scientific that I made, but the points stand.
It's true that with these items specifically, if you start the fight at 100% HP, you will win against most item combinations. That's true. That's just not how the game is played, though. The game is played, there's high ground, there's cover, there's towers, there's, cooldowns, like there's so many things. And if I'm, for example, on Lash, I'm not just going to shoot you for 10 seconds. I'm just going to flog ground strike you and then run away. You could argue like, oh, well, Wraith might be a little bit more stat checky. But if I'm playing Wraith and I'm going to fight someone, right, I'm going to wait until I have 3 cards. And maybe my ult, and then I'm going to go for a quick burst on someone where I'm just going to ult and use my cards on them. And then once I don't have that, I'm going to back up, right? It's not true that in most situations, you're going to sit there and fight someone continuously for 10 or 15 seconds. That's just not how the game is played in the laning stage. He then goes on to say that I mentioned that you can't win lane if you rush 4.8k greens. Now, I do want to make that clear. You can win lane with any items in theory, right? Like if you're just better than the other player, like no matter what your items are, like you might be able, like if I put, kind of coughing baby versus nuclear bomb, like you can win lane. Okay, so I spoke to a few, pro and high level players, and like nobody that I spoke to said, yeah, if I want to win lane, I'm buying.
Sources: Saya, Poshipop. Lightbringer disagrees with me. Okay.
4.8k greens to start with, right? That's just, if you want to win lane, you need burst damage. That's really the main thing. You need burst damage and you need wave pressure. And now, what are the best items to get that? Items like monster rounds, items like headshot booster. In fact, Metro is buying headshot booster all the time in the VODs that I saw today because he understands himself that rushing 4.8k green doesn't win you lane by itself. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. I started using Warden. I started using headshot booster on Warden, 100%. I think so, having some extra damage is really useful. But I still rush 4.8k green after, right? That's still the next thing I'm getting. In pro play, I don't think Vitality is good. Because in pro play, synergizing and playing the lane together in that manner is really, really fucking important. In fact, in pro play, the reason you see every Wraith player rush 4.8k Spirit is because of the scenarios we talk about where you get like a burst and you have really good synergy. In pro play, there's also a lot more fighting going on right after lane, right? I can be more reliable, stronger on greens, on at least the characters I'm playing, right? Some of the characters I named on the list, compared to rushing full Spirit. And by the way, I talked to Lightbringer myself, he was in my chat earlier, and Lightbringer said, you never ever rush 4.8k gun in specific, right? I think the only other option is Spirit 4.8k rush, which is still really good, right? Obviously, it got nerfed last patch. I think even Lightbringer mentioned that 4.8k rush on greens is more viable than at least weapons. We didn't talk about character specifics, but it is not true that that 4.8k vitality investment rush is not viable on anyone, in my opinion.
And so you're always gonna lose to the guy if you're on equal skill and they go items that are good for winning lane over the 4.8k green investment items, because the 4.8k green investment items are really just good at stat checking people rather than taking fights that occur naturally in the laning stage. Now, I also want to add that Metro has said a few times about the green investment that this is just my opinion, and that lots of players in North America and Europe at a very high skill level, including himself, think that this is the new meta and that it's great to just rush the 4.8k investment like this because of all the reasons that he mentioned. And so I went scavenging. I'm like, okay, who are these players that he's talking about, right? Let me go asking around. Maybe I can ask some of the EU people that I know. I asked Lightbringer, I asked Flammable, I asked Ranger in NA, I asked Saya, I asked Poshipop, I asked Rena.
That's the same list.
At games, right? And in fact, I'll do it right now as well. I mean, well, let's just take a look here. Let me go to the spectator tab. We'll pick a game that's hopefully in the laning stage. We've got one at 6 minutes here. Let's see how many people in this game are rushing the green investment. And if there's a lot, I mean, I'm not going to edit this or anything. We'll see. Anybody rushing the green investment? Bebop, kind of. Here it looks like most other heroes are not. It's really right now, it's Metro's belief that it'll become meta, but it's just untrue that it is meta. Like, it's just not meta. It's not. Like, it might become meta if he's right, which I don't think he is, but if he is right, it could become meta. Maybe people just haven't adapted yet and he's ahead of the curve. That's possible, but if you look in games right now, you'll be hard-pressed to find builds that are rushing Vitality 4.8k. There's just not a lot of them. I mean, you can just look in the shop. And for some heroes, it can work for sure, and some of the people that I talked to, for example, Poshipop said Arctic thinks it's pretty decent on Shiv. Lightbringer said that it could have potential on Haze or Infernus, but he thinks on most heroes it's not great to rush it. Now, I do want to point out as well, obviously this is not a super convincing argument because we should try to keep things as objective as possible, but from a subjective and anecdotal evidence,
there's no shot he took a game today with me and fucking Jonas. Come on, man. Come on, man. You know what you're doing, Deathy. I don't even have to debunk this one.
Perspective.
I was making content with a friend who is Ascendant 6. Plus, okay? And I'll give it to you. Actually, there's not really a win for your argument. I played like shit today. Just for the record. You know this as well as I do. The number one thing that still matters in lane is your skill. And your synergy with your teammate.
I found 6 lane losses, 3 ties, and 3 wins. And the way that I quantified whether it's a win, loss, or tie...
It is 100% true. I've lost a lot of lanes the last few days. 100% true.
Is just look... Make of that
no,
one.
that is like, bro, this video was good until this point, man. Come on.
You gotta make it look broken first.
Just to get this out of the way, and maybe I'll make a response video. Maybe I'll just upload this to YouTube, right? I will give you actually the heroes I think it's good on. By the way, like, the Green Wraith, you know, my love. I've ran before it was like meta, right? And people started doing that way more on EU. Would not do it on Abrams, again. Tanky, wants damage. Same for Billy, same for Bebop probably. Maybe you can do it on Bebop. I'm not a Bebop expert. I think it's good on Drifter. I think it is very strong on Drifter. I see a lot of Drifters just rush Battle Vest. I think it can work really well. So you can do like headshot booster and then rush full greens. I think it's really good on Drifter. Like Battle Vest, Enchanters, and then like maybe go Enduring Speed. Okay, so that's number 1. Again on Dynamo and Talon, I believe it is still Spirit. I think it's very strong on Haze. And you said nobody else is doing it, but like if we look at the builds, literally like I pointed this out the other like literally earlier today, right? Like Venon is running it, where he has 2 items that are not green, but then he rushes full green on Haze, right? So I think it's very good on Haze. Infernus. Again, any character that once has like a really high early nuke potential, it's probably not as good at. It is really good on characters that shoot over a longer period of time and deal damage, right? So it's not good on Holiday. I think it can work on Ivy, but I'm not an Ivy expert. Would not run it on Geist, because Geist has a negative effect with it, because the more Geist healing or Geist spells deal damage based on your overall health, so it's actually not super good to rush it. You probably go the classic rated regen that John is doing. There, by the way, you never do it on Lash. I just did that video on Lash because people were curious, but like Lash, obviously you want to burst, you know, Lash goes in, does one thing, and then it's over, right? McGinnis, I think it can be good, but McGinnis has 2 items that are absolutely broken on her because she has such a big magazine, active reload and improved intensifying magazine. On Mina, I think you just rush the extra health. Mirage, there is a debate to be made, to be honest, now with the nerfs, but like Mirage is probably like, that power spike on Spirit is still good enough. Page, I think it can be very strong, like with support items. And then again, like I think it's really good on the left clicker carry characters. I think it's really strong on 7. I think it's really strong on Warden. I think it's really strong on Wraith. Even Victor, you could try it. I haven't though. The one thing I regret in the video is I talked about how good vests are, and I think they are, right? But it's not on every single hero. Like, in fact, the more HP you have on base, the worse it is. But I really do think that vest, Battle Vest is crazy. It's one of the best items in the game. Extra health is crazy. It's one of the best items in the game, right? Enchanter is arguably a tiny bit weaker, but that's only because it's only 15% resist and not 18. Sorry, brain fart. So yeah, I should have been more clear. It's definitely not a thing for every hero. I wanted to point it out because it's now by far the second best 4.8k stat. Way better than weapon damage, right? And getting it early on certain characters is very strong. I do think it's meta. Never said like Spirit 4.8k is not still amazing on a lot of heroes, right?
That it's good on most. And you know, he is absolutely right, by the way, that it is more HP on everyone, you know, before a certain point in the game. Like early on, it's more HP on everyone. That's 100% correct. The point that I disagree with, though, is him saying that Battle Vest and Enchanter's Emblem are overall buffed because everyone has more HP. Everyone has.
They are. Okay, I'll hear him out.
More HP early, but later on, people have less HP. Well, it depends, once again, right? It's like the squishier characters, like Battle Vest and Enchanter's Emblem got buffed on the squishier characters, and it got nerfed on the tankier characters because you have...
Okay, I'm addressing this right now. It got buffed on almost like 80% plus of the roster. The only characters that fall off in terms of health early are Abrams, Bebop, Billy, Geist, Shiv, and Warden kinda, and Victor. Monkrill, sorry. So I guess it's more than like, yeah, it's not 80%, but for most characters, like if you take for example a hero like Warden, someone in my community did the math. Oh, sorry, I forgot Yamato existed. Someone did the math. You need at least like 15. I think I don't want. I only have the actual numbers for 2 characters, so I pull it up. For Mina, it's more for the entire game. For Abrams, here, I'll just pull this up real quick. The crossover boon is 14, and that is, what is it, 12k to 14k? I don't know what the actual number is, I don't want to lie. So this is the earliest the new investment falls off, and that is on Abrams. And for most characters, it is actually here. For 700 HP characters, it's actually around 25 boons, which a lot of games end at that time. So that's incorrect. It is stronger for most characters. Again, anything below 800 HP base. Because, like, the thing is, Battle Vest and Enchanters are items you buy early, and you sell them late anyways, right? So at that point, you would sell them no matter what. So I 100% disagree on that take, that it's like, that they're not buffed. They're a lot stronger than before. A lot.
Now, Metro's second argument is that jungling speed is not a big factor. Because greens give you more sustain. So he's basically saying, hey, if I'm playing Wraith or Warden or whatever, right, I'm going to buy these greens, and then I'm going to buy, it doesn't really matter. Let's say he buys Healing Right, extra health, which seems to be kind of like his...
Not what I said, by the way. I said that at 8 minutes, I'd rather farm Sinners, and the lane creep killing speed is not changed. And yes, you will not be able to... I said in my video, you will not be able to farm tier 2s as efficiently, I'm pretty sure, right? But that time, you can farm more Sinners, because you have a lot more HP, and catch up and get like whatever you want. Like on Wraith, it would be like Tesla right after, right? I've done it multiple times today.
His go-to in most situations. He's basically like, well, first of all, tier 3s are not really relevant because you're not going to be hitting them early. True.
Yep.
Also, some greens, like, but his overall point is that the greens allow you to stay in the jungle, you know, for longer. Because, for example, here you'll have a little bit more sustain to, you know, hit the Sinners and allow you to do the Sinners. And doing the Sinners is optimal early, which, by the way, is true. Doing the Sinners is optimal early. Like I said, I'm willing to make concessions, and there's plenty of things that Metro is right about. It's just that he's so wrong about the things that he's wrong about that I felt the need to make the video.
But I still don't know what I'm so wrong about.
Greens do give you some sustain. However, I can get a large percentage of the sustain without having to rush the 4.8k investment, right? Like, if you want sustain, just buy Healing Right. Like, Healing Right by itself already gives you a ton of sustain, like gives you 300 HP. And then if you're concerned about out of combat regen, well, you want a little bit of out of combat regen. Technically, like, Sprint Boots is one of the cheapest sources of that, right? So, or if you just want regen, just get extra regen, right? Like, certain items have certain purposes that are to keep you active on the map. And I will say that, you know, having tons of regen is a little bit less important now with the Healing Trooper. Doesn't mean it doesn't have any value, right? But I just wanted to clear that up. And realistically, if you're rushing 4.8k greens, I mean, you're always going to lose to the guy that has Cultist. Now, you could argue, okay, I'm going to rush 4.8k greens, for example, here, and get these items. And then...
I don't know why people keep on saying, like, Cultist in the sense of farming. I don't know if he means Cultist in the sense of farming. Because Cultist is still a decent farming item, but it's not that, like... Cultist is great on characters, in my opinion, that can't farm at all. Because they can still catch up by just sacking a tier 3 creep, right? I actually haven't run Cultist on Wraith in ages. And I know some people still do it. I think it's wrong, by the way. I think you just go Tesla and you farm faster. Because you can actually clear shit faster with Tesla. If you want the damage against creeps, and this is like a point not even towards Deathy, but everyone. If you want the damage on creeps, you just buy monster rounds. It's 25 instead of 30, but it's like, for 800 you get that, right?
After I get these items, then I'm going to go Cultist, which should make it so I still have it in time for the 8-minute timer. I will say you're going to be a little late to the 8-minute timer, probably.
No. Oh, no. Not what I said. I said at 8 minutes I hit the Sinners. And then after I have my Tesla. I don't buy Cultist at all, by the way. But, you know, Cultist is an entirely different debate.
But at the end of the day, The problem with going this is that my main problem is that you're basically just playing to lose the lane, right? In most situations with these items, you're going to lose the lane. From my arguments, my perspective...
I still think that's untrue. That's my main point. Like, I don't think you lose the lane because of it. Like, maybe I have to lock in. I don't think you lose the lane because of it. Of course, he didn't put up the fucking low main lane we won, where ran green. But, like, I don't think that's true. That's the entire point. On the characters it's good at, I think it's really strong in lane. That's why I called it broken. Let's see the proof of all the people rushing. Green 4.8k. I'm still waiting. I don't know which games you've been looking at. I've played NA myself this last week, right? But I've seen people do it, especially on the characters I play. I don't know a lot of NA players. I do think NA is behind the curve. Again, ABL just added green to his build. It's not 4.8k. Venon has it in his build on Haze. Green Wraith is super popular. It is the most popular build for Wraith. I don't know. Like, I would have to... We can look at it. We can look at... I'm down to, like, go through EU games. I rephrase. I don't think it's good on every single hero ever. And on most, it's a marginal upgrade or even a downgrade. Then I personally would say a couple of heroes I'd like to see it experimented with as Haze and Furnace. But general sentiment, no, I don't think it's great. Okay. But even Lightbringer ran like Green Wraith. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Lightbringer. And I really respect Ranger's opinion as well, by the way. I'm down to talk to Ranger. But Lightbringer and me have always had a bit of a different opinion on like builds. It is, in the end, an opinion piece. I still think it is broken on the characters I've named earlier in the video. Or earlier in this live stream, I should say. I think it's really, really strong. I also think you're wrong on Battle Vest and Shana's Emblem being broken. I think they're really broken. I still stand by that. Again, I've been in NA for like a week and a half. And like this is the patch that came out. On an A ladder, it's not that many people. For sure. It's me running it. But even before this, I've seen people rush it on Wraith, on 7. I think it's very strong. I don't think Battle Vest needs nerfs. I think the issue right now is that a lot of items are too weak. Especially in the orange category, by the way. But that's like an entirely different argument. All I'm saying is I bought 4.8k green and... Yo, John, what do you think about 4.8k green? Honest take, John. John, I want you to take this from a ladder perspective. I 100% understand. I mentioned this earlier. I 100% understand why it's different in pro play. There's no shot John rushes 4.8k gun first. And if he does, then I think he's incorrect. And then Lightbringer is on my side. Because Lightbringer literally said never ever rush gun 4.8k first. Oh no. We might have some wait, fuck. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this might be that there's a lot of different opinions going around. Because you can ask Lightbringer on this. He literally said never ever rush 4.8k on any character. Gun first. So, you know, I guess what this shows us, I'm gonna continue watching your video. I want to finish this. But
20 seconds.
There is a lot of different opinions, I guess.
One hero that's going to be favorable for 5 seconds by slowing their fire rate and making them take more bullet damage, right? These items are what I would call power spikes, and ideally, if you're playing to win the lane, it's important that you try. I
mean, okay, here's what's gonna happen. The next big patch is gonna be the new hero patch, right? Whatever is coming, like the base redesign, and game is gonna change a lot there. We'll see. I hope it is gonna happen, but yo, Piggy, I need your opinion. Piggy, do you think it is viable to rush 4.8k vitality first, depending on the character you play? Not every. You don't think 4.8k vitality is viable at all? Have you tried it? Warden, Haze, Infernus, 7, Wraith? No, I'm asking anyone genuinely. Because I believe it's really good on those heroes. Why are you asking Tractor?
Everything, depending on your hero.
Tractor hasn't played the game in a year. 4.8k Spirit is 10 times better than greens and oranges. On a lot of characters it is. Like, characters that use rapid recharge or Surge of Power, I think. But even for Wraith, I think on ladder it's better to go green. Or Warden, by the way. John. I'll donate a sub. I need you to play this on stream. I need you to play my Warden build.
And made the right decision 100% of the time, which of course doesn't happen, but let's just assume that you do. How much green would you actually want to rush early? The answer for most players is going to be not that much. If I'm playing against a player that's worse than me, I'm not going to want to get a lot of green. I'm going to go all in on things that allow me to win the lane. Monster rounds, headshot booster, Mystic Burst, whatever it is, right? So that's kind of the whole point. Is I never think you should default to rushing green because you're just playing not to win.
I think that's incorrect. Health is a stat like any other stat. On characters that do damage, like a decent amount of damage, without having a lot of investments on those items, can rush greens and do fine. I don't think it's true that like rushing greens makes you lose lane. Extra health is gonna allow you to trade better. And same for Battle Vest. And then again, like I skip Enchanter's Emblem on something like Warden, right? Because like I go enduring speed, but like the testing method I had is flawed, 100%. But not every character is full burst, use everything and leave. And even if there's trading going on, right? On stuff like Wraith, like Infernus and shit, right? Those characters usually want to keep on shooting, and then the enemy backs out or you back out. And even in those scenarios, you will still trade. You have more HP and more sustain, right? You will still trade decently. Never said to run this shit on Abrams. You don't seem to understand, like, if I have WHP, Deathy, even if you do poke trades, I will still win the poke trades. Even if the damage, like, if it's not a one-time burst thing, it's still poke trades that you can still win. Holy, the pros are fighting. I am not a pro, that is true.
Like, you can just trade for longer because you have more health. That's really the only thing that it gives you. You can tank big bursts of damage, so it allows you to survivability. It's really the only thing you get.
You don't win the poke trades with HP. Your HP barely gives you regen, and I have perma wave pressure with my items. You do have more damage on the lane, but like, if I'm playing the characters I named, I have lane pressure. On Warden, I will nuke the wave pretty fast no matter what. If you do a bit more damage to me, because I take a tiny bit longer to nuke the wave, I'll still come out on top in HP. We kind of have to play a 1v1 on mirrored characters. Do you win versus a character that plays for spikes? No! And those spikes should still be played! Mirage Spike is insane, right? Like Great Talent Spike is insane. There is still characters that use the 4.8k Spirit investment insanely well. I don't know why Poshy wants to include himself in this conversation. You know my opinion about Poshy, okay? That's besides the point. We have enough drama for one day, man.
Wrong at the same time. It's like correct and incorrect. It really depends. Now, the main problem I have with Metro's content in general is that he is very black and white about it. And I make that mistake.
I am very black and white.
So I do want to apologize for that. I will do my best to be better on that. But I think as educational content creators in Deadlock, in a game that is so nuanced and has so many facets, it's very important that we try not to be black and white as much as possible and explain things as clearly as possible without making, you know, like super broad statements that are incorrect. For example, saying that green is more
I'm down to 1v1.
More green in general.
Wanna get on, Deathy?
Someone who, depending on your hero,
1v1 Warden.
True, like,
well, you can buy whatever, I buy greens, man.
Right?
Wait, I'm gonna win the 1v1 with green items? You said the lane is about poke battles. My point was that on characters like Warden, you want to shoot damage over time. Yeah, okay, and the game is not a 1v1. Of course it's more complex, I agree to that. But like, I fight on the characters that do damage over time. Leffa coming in and literally to yapping. You're the guy that hasn't listened to the conversation, Leffa. I never said to rush it on Abrams, bro. Leffa, I think it's good on like characters that do damage over time, Leffa. No, my point is like, Piggy, I have like double HP coming out of lane, so I just hit the sinners at 8. I can hit double as many sinners, sustain more, and then I get the farming items anyways. And I feel like it doesn't slow me down. You don't have double HP if I just buy the good greens? I actually do. I get what he's saying. If you're buying like healing, right? Yeah, you have that 400 healing, you know, every 50 seconds, whatever the cooldown of thing is. So it's not quite double, but I do have a lot more HP. Plus a lot more resist. I agree, Deathy. Okay? Last thing I'm gonna say about this, you brought up some very good points. Again, if you're interested, I addressed like all of the points in the video, if you care. But that's besides the point. I think where we 100% differentiate in our way of thinking is, I don't think rushing greens in lane means that you're trying to lose the lane. I don't think of green as passive. I think of it as I have more health to trade with. Like I truly do believe that on the characters I play, it gets me more lane wins. Or even lanes. Like on Wraith, for example, right? Like we can both agree, it's like actually very hard to win a lot of the lanes, right? Like even if you, it did get better, right? With the latest, or the patch a few patches ago, where they changed it to the 4.8k investment in the first place. But I don't think of like I don't go into this lane And I know you brought up the games I played today with Jonas, right? But I don't go into lane with like this. Where is it?
My family
and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna lose the lane because of it. Depending on the character, like if I go like Wraith, I think Wraith is a better example. It's probably on average gonna be a bit harder to win the lane than like rushing 4.8k Spirit. But after, I can actually do more of what I want to do compared to like Purple Rush. Like the Purple Rush, you can't farm for shit on Wraith. And Sinners you can't hit because you have no health. And that, it depends on playstyle too, right? Like, again, in pro play, like, if you are supposed to join more team fights and your team needs you more, then of course having more damage on, like, a character like Wraith helps, right? Like, it depends on the playstyle. I think, I genuinely believe it's way better on ladder. Especially in fucking NA from what I've seen the last 2 days playing on the server. Because everyone fucking AFK farms. All I'm saying, final closing thoughts, and, you know, in the end I might be wrong. Might turn out that I overreacted to it. I still remember the time where I made a build on 7 where I ran Cultist and then Superior Duration. That was right after Superior cooldown was nerfed and didn't work with Cultist anymore. And everyone called me shit for doing it. And then a month later everyone ran it.